we're going to take a closer look at what leaders in recovery and even those achieving sobriety are calling the perfect storm for addiction. It is a year where everything that was once normal turned to chaos. Streets burned. Stadiums emptied. Schools shuttered. The need for security has driven us to seek safety in test tubes. And as little bottles inject us with hope, much bigger bottles have poured despair. And now in our new world of video tiles, it takes just one word to reveal the hidden crisis.
The word that immediately comes to mind is suffering.
I guess fear would be one thing.
I think incredible is the word I use a lot.
The word that comes to mind for me to describe what people are going through right now is struggle.
They are all words that many of the Twin Cities' leading addiction and recovery leaders, even addicts, say tells the story of the impact of the pandemic on addiction and recovery.
Literally, there's some people who haven't had a hug since February.
First, there was the isolation, and then the shutdown.
And I'm driving to work, and I'm finding, the Best Buy parking lot is empty. Most of the parking lots around here were empty. The liquor store parking lot was packed.
And in the eyes of addiction and recovery counselors, it was mixing a cocktail of trouble.
We have a perfect storm here. We've got the COVID pandemic, we've got addiction, we've got mental health, and then we've got the economic insecurity.
That perfect storm jumps from the pages of new research. Nielsen's tracking data of alcohol sales during the month of March showed beer increased 15%, wine jumped 27%, spirits by nearly 32%. The Centers for Disease Control discovered 31% of the adults it surveyed this summer were struggling with anxiety and depression related to COVID-19. And the RAND Corporation, it found the frequency of alcohol consumption of adults over 30 grew by 14%. Women increased their heavy drinking episodes by 41%.
What are you seeing on a local level?
We're seeing all of that at Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge.
It's all part of the unintended consequences of COVID restrictions. They protect us from the virus, but they enable addiction.
I drink because I love alcohol, but the pandemic was just more of an excuse to stay isolated by myself and not have the opportunity to interact with family or be at Easter with them, birthday parties. And so I just felt that that was a better excuse for me to drink.
It's hard. When you have a disease, alcoholism, that requires connection, and COVID that requires social isolation, that creates a whole set of unique challenges.
We're seeing sick people get sicker.
Lydia Burr is the Director of Clinical Services at Hazelden Betty Ford in St. Paul.
People are really struggling with their mental health, with their depression, with their anxiety. And then there's that added layer of stress that just exists in society right now because of the pandemic that's layered on top of that and is really exacerbating the problems that somebody might already have.
And add to that stress the holidays. For too many, the lights of Christmas cannot save the darkness of isolation.
And, they need to know that they're not alone. This is a disease of isolation. And when you're alone in this, it's a scary, dangerous place to be.
Now, the overwhelming word I hear from everyone is that there is hope. And tomorrow night, we're going to hear from two people who have achieved sobriety during all of this. Their names are Lisa and Mark. They're the first to tell you that this has not been easy during the pandemic, but they're also sharing the joy. The utter joy of regaining their lives again. And then on Wednesday, we're going to show you how the recovery community has all gone online. At almost any moment of the day, you can attend a meeting, a group support meeting anywhere in America and across the globe too. And if there's something in this story tonight that struck home and you want to reach out, we have a very robust recovery community in Minnesota. And I've put the links and numbers to Hazelden Betty Ford, Teen Challenge, and the retreat. It's on our website, fox9.com. In a recovery world where the fear of COVID battles the fear of addiction, there are those who are struggling and yet those who are winning.
It's been an incredible challenge.
Mark is in his 15th month of sobriety.
Yeah, so I sought out alcohol.
Lisa has been sober for 7 months.
Yeah, I would drink anything that had alcohol in it. My preference was vodka and wine, but really anything. Once I got that in my system, any type of alcohol, I would just keep drinking.
Both Lisa and Mark have achieved their sobriety through the Retreat. It's a 12-step recovery center based in Wayzata. Both live in sober houses, but they admit staying focused during the pandemic is a challenge.
Just trying to establish, my own footing and continue to get the things that I need to treat my recovery properly and give that the attention it needs, all while trying to live within the guidelines and trying to do my part to keep everybody around me safe.
The pressure, the isolation brought on by social distancing, business closures, and job losses have simply led many in recovery to give up.
We're seeing a lot more relapses that are happening out there due to the isolation related to COVID-19. The virtual meetings that people go to are okay, and they're helping, but they're not the same. And so there are more people who are alone, trying to find their pace in recovery, and it's very difficult.
And sometimes pop culture, including YouTube, doesn't help.
Mommy drinks during COVID-19 because I have to homeschool all you little slippery suckers. You're all in a different grade with a different level. I have one computer for 3 of you.
The media says, stay at home, drink wine, moms drink wine, or homeschooling, drink wine. It just feels like sometimes the society does put that out there, that it's okay to drink right now. What else are we going to do? We're stuck in our house. And so then I just used that as a way to justify and rationalize my increased consumption of alcohol.
A recent survey of 5,400 adults by the Centers for Disease Control found 13% had started or increased substance abuse during the pandemic. And new research by the Wellbeing Trust and the Robert Graham Center says as many as 75,000 people will die from drug and alcohol misuse and suicide, all tied to the pandemic. Lydia Burr of Hazelden Betty Ford says one of the challenges for those in recovery is finding meaningful connections with others to stay sober.
Attending mutual support meetings, working with a sponsor, and finding fellowship after those meetings as well, whether it's in the form of, getting coffee or a meal together. Those are all things that people really aren't able to do right now.
Unless it's virtual, online.
Zoom does a great job attempting to replace that personal experience, but there's a certain shared energy that comes from sharing a room or a space with somebody that we're just not getting.
But they know those personal connections will return, and staying in recovery, even if it's online, has big rewards.
This has been the best year that I've had, I can honestly say, in the past 5 years of attempting to get sober.
And I talked to one man who's in recovery who says as bad as 2020 has been for everyone, he considers this the best year of his life because he got sober. And you're going to hear from him. His name is Zach. We're going to talk to him tomorrow night. And we're also going to expand on what Mark was just talking about, and that is recovery groups and how they've all moved online. Hazelden Betty Ford is doing it. The Retreat, they're doing it too. And those logging in say it has been an absolute lifeline for them.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Zach. I'm here with my friend Rob.
The conversation is real.
And really, we're just people that are we're addicts in recovery.
And so are their stories.
I was drinking alcohol. I was pretty much a full-blown alcoholic by the time I was 9 or 10 years old.
Zach and Rob are with Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, and they're leading a class called Know the Truth. The students are all high schoolers, and they're all watching online.
We just care about all of you guys, and that's why we do what we do.
It's all about virtually helping teenagers break through the isolation affecting so many during the pandemic.
We talk about the mental health of adults. We talk about the mental health of our peers and in our workplaces. But we forget that our youth are going through the same exact thing.
If anyone knows, it's Rob,
I think that's a big part of it. The isolation it's terrible. You know, it's hard on people. It's a hardship.
And that's where virtual connections fill the void. Teen Challenge has always been active in digital space, including YouTube channels, but it all changed during the pandemic shutdowns and restrictions.
And then we started ramping up immediately telehealth services, so that through video conferencing we can do mental health services and substance use disorder treatment services on an outpatient basis. And that's been really a godsend for our programs across the state.
The pandemic has forced the entire recovery community to migrate online. Now, in-person treatment centers, they're still open. The sober houses, they're still open too. In fact, they've never closed. But when you're talking about outpatient services and certainly the group therapy sessions, they've all adapted now in digital space. Hazelden Betty Ford is a prime example.
At the beginning of March, we had about 550 or 600 individual lives seeking services at Hazelden Betty Ford. And at the end of March, we had about 550 or 600 individual lives seeking services entirely virtually through our online platform, Recovery Go.
In fact, the virtual Recovery Go platform at Hazelden Betty Ford now gets 100,000 hits a week.
That is what is most meaningful to me from a mission standpoint, is we are reaching people who might not have said yes to treatment 12 months ago. And we're also able to offer care to people who don't live in St. Paul or in Maple Grove or Chaska.
The Retreat in Wayzata years ago launched its own online platform called myrecovery.com.
We had no idea it would take a global pandemic to actually make it really work. You know, you can go on there any day of the week and have meeting after meeting that are, you know, where you can connect with people face to face.
And those virtual group connections are lifelines for Lisa, who's been sober for 7 months.
And one of the nice things is with the virtual meetings these days is I can find one really any time of the day. So if I'm struggling, I can hop online and there's a likely chance that there will be a meeting that I can attend and reach out and connect with other people.
And this sudden virtual change in recovery is likely to stay after the pandemic is over.
Yeah, they've just made ease of access so friendly and so convenient for people. I think it's going to become a staple of the recovery community no matter what happens.
It's a year where people have struggled with addiction and recovery.
I had the best year of my life with COVID.
But for many like Zach, it's also been a year of promise.
If I can have the best year of my life during something like this, I can't imagine what the next year is going to be like and the next year is going to be like. And I hope that's hope for somebody out there.
And the resounding message I heard over and over again, that there's always hope for recovery. And as your family gets together this week, and you may see someone struggling, John Engelbreth at Hazelden Betty Ford really offered me some great advice. He says, approach them with dignity, grace, and compassion. And you need to know that we've got a deep recovery community in Minnesota. If you feel the need to reach out, we've posted a list of resources on fox9.com and my Facebook page. And you'll also find the other recovery stories that we've reported this week.